Assalamualaikum, I am Tala Suhail. I welcome you all to Virtual University's program on Personality Psychology. Dear students, today is our lecture number 41, and in this 41st lecture we are talking about perspectives or domains of personality psychology. जनाब अभी भी बात आपसे हो रही है perspectives या domains की psychology की, personality psychology की. But before moving ahead with our lecture number 41, let us recap what we did in lecture number 40. In lecture number 40, we talked with you about the 6 domains or perspectives of personality psychology. जनाब आपसे एक सरसरी आउटलाइन के तौर पे बात हुई domains of personality psychology की, जिसमें हमने ये कहा कि personality can be studied by using the dispositional, biological, इंट्रासाइकिक, कॉग्निटिव और एक्सपीरियंशियल, सोशल और कल्चरल और एडजस्टमेंट पर्सपेक्टिव. आपके साथ बात शुरू की थी कि ये जो 6 पर्सपेक्टिव्स और डोमेन्स हैं, दे कैन बी फुली एम्प्लॉयड इन स्टडिंग पर्सनैलिटी साइकोलॉजी, एंड वी हैव स्टडीड सम 17 theories of personality. Now each and every one of the theory that you have covered fits into one or more than one domain or approach of personality psychology. आपने जितनी पर्सनैलिटी थ्योरीज अभी तक पढ़ी हैं, चाहे वो फ्रॉइड की हो, एडलर की हो, यूंग की हो, रॉजर्स, मैस्लो, कैली, डॉलर्ड और मिलर, स्किनर, बंड्यूरा, ऑलपॉट, कैटल, you name it. Well, each and every one of these theories fits into one of the perspective of personality psychology. So जितनी theories आपने पढ़ी हैं, ज़्यादातर कुछ इस तरह है कि एक या 2 theories definitely from every perspective we have covered 2 to 3 personality theories. और जब हमने theories of personality मुकम्मल करनी, उसके बाद I think that is the right and perfect right time to discuss with you perspectives of psychology, personality psychology in detail. इसलिए हमने ये 6 perspectives select किए और इनकी एक outline दी और इनके बारे में with examples related to each and every perspective we talk to you about them. जनाब एक बहुत अहम बात, we'll first go through an outline, then we are going to discuss 3 perspectives today with detail related to personality theories that fall under one respective perspective, और हम कोशिश करेंगे कि हर perspective में जितनी relevant personality theories हैं उनको cover करें. Dear students, we have been talking to you about personality psychology with reference to perspectives or domains used in personality psychology. So personality can be studied with reference to 6 perspectives: dispositional perspective, biological perspective, intrapsychic perspective, cognitive perspective or experiential perspective, social or cultural perspective, and of course adjustment perspective. So let's go through a brief outline and then discuss 3 main perspectives in detail. Number 1, dispositional perspective. It deals centrally with the ways in which individuals differ from one another. It tries to explore how individuals differ in their emotions, in their perceptions, in their self-concepts, in their physiological characteristics, and as well as in their intrapsychic mechanisms. तो पहला पर्सपेक्टिव आपके सामने, डिस्पोजिशनल पर्सपेक्टिव, where we see how one individual differs from another individual as far as his emotions are concerned, self-concept is concerned, traits are concerned, perception is concerned, motives is concerned, needs are concerned. So we see that one individual differs from another individual related to emotions, related to self-concepts, related to needs, related to traits, or let's say important characteristics. So not just overt characteristics, but intra-psychic mechanisms as well. Number 2, biological perspective. Humans are first and foremost collections of biological systems, and these systems provide the building blocks for behavior, thoughts, and emotions. The biological perspective covers genetics, physiology, and evolution. जनाब दूसरा अहम पर्सपेक्टिव आपके सामने, जहाँ पर हम ये देखते हैं कि बायोलॉजिकली how one individual is different from the other individual when it comes to genes, when it comes to the function or working of the nervous system, particularly peripheral nervous system, and evolution. So how one individual differs from the other individual when it comes to genes, when it comes to nervous system, when it comes to neurotransmitters, when it comes to activity of the heart, when it comes to sleep patterns, when it comes to different important physiological functions of your body. The third perspective, that is the intrapsychic perspective. Now this perspective was founded by Sigmund Freud, and the focus is on unconscious motives, and the focus is that there is an intrapsychic conflict between the id impulses and the societal pressures or the societal norms, that is the superego, and the ego has to mediate between the two. The ego has to cater to the needs of id and superego and got to find a middle way, a workable way between the two. Now, intrapsychic perspective is important because there are conflicts at the unconscious level, and according to Sigmund Freud, these conflicts at unconscious level, they affect our everyday behavior. चाहे वो slip of tongue हो, चाहे वो slip of pen हो, चाहे वो आपको बहुत जरूरी और अहम काम जो आपको करना चाहिए था वो आप भूल जाते हैं, memory lapses हो. Well, all of these things according to Sigmund Freud are because of intrapsychic conflict at the unconscious level, and they affect your everyday behavior. Then we have got the cognitive or the experiential approach. We know that genes contribute significantly in personality development. आपकी genes, आपका nervous system, आपकी physiology, आपको जो genetic message मिल रहा है अपने parents और forefathers से, that play a very important role in the personality development. But then culture and society equally contributes in the personality development. सिर्फ genes important नहीं है और सिर्फ society या culture important नहीं है. Both are equally important in contributing to the development of a healthy, well-adjusted personality. जनाब, जब cognitive और experiential perspective की बात होती है, well, the cognition, the thinking, the perception, or the construct system that you use in viewing events or things that are happening around you colors your thinking, your cognition, how you perceive reality. एक ही इवेंट है, उसे मुख्तलिफ लोग देखते हैं और उसके एक डिफरेंट इंटरप्रिटेशन हमारे सामने आती है. द इवेंट ऑब्जेक्टिवली इज द सेम, द परसेप्शन, द इंटरप्रिटेशन, द लेबलिंग इज डिफरेंट. एक ही दिन है, एक ही सुबह है, लेकिन एक इंडिविजुअल को वो बहुत अट्रैक्टिव और एक अच्छी मॉर्निंग नजर आती है और दूसरे को बड़ा डल और बोरिंग किस्म का दिन लगता है. सो योर कॉग्निशन colors your perception, how you perceive the events that are happening around you. Number 6, the adjustment perspective. Your personality, it plays a very important role in how you cope, adapt and adjust to different events that are taking place around you. Now, as far as the pleasant events are concerned, success, promotion, getting something, well, that is something very pleasant. That doesn't cause any adjustment problem. That is always welcome. But what about unpleasant events? Disease, disability, disorders, old age health problems, retirement. How do you adjust to these things? Well, they are very important. So the type of person you are, how you cope, how you adjust, how you adapt yourself to different unpleasant events of your normal everyday life. How do you make adjustments with that? That is where adjustment perspective comes in. तो हमने कहा एक है dispositional perspective आपके सामने, biological perspective आपके सामने. Then we have got the intrapsychic perspective. You have got the cognitive or experiential perspective, social, cultural perspective, adjustment perspective. So these are actually 6 different ways of looking at personality. A best exercise would be for you to write 6 statements related to your personality or related to another person with whom you are very friendly. एक एक्सरसाइज कीजिए कि आप 6 स्टेटमेंट्स बनाइए अपनी शख्सियत या अपनी पर्सनैलिटी के बारे में या किसी एक और इंडिविजुअल के बारे में जिसको आप बहुत अच्छी तरह जानते हैं. Write them down and then try to see that each statement, where does it fit, in which particular perspective does each statement fits in. So in that way you will have a very good idea that these 6 perspectives are 6 different ways of studying, exploring, going through personality. So जब आप ये 6 statements लिखेंगे उन 6 स्टेटमेंट्स को बाद में फिट करने की कोशिश करें इन ईच एंड एवरी पर्सपेक्टिव एंड यू विल कम अक्रॉस दैट दीज आर एक्चुअली 6 डिफरेंट वेज ऑफ लुकिंग एट योर ओन सेल्फ और लुकिंग एट समवन with whom you are friendly or someone who is very close to you. I hope you will enjoy this exercise and this exercise will give you a more understanding of these 6 perspectives. Janab, that is as far as our outline of these 6 perspectives is concerned. Now, dear students, in this 41st lecture, we are going to talk about in more details about 3 perspectives. 3 perspectives पे आज focus करेंगे. Dispositional perspective, biological perspective, intrapsychic perspective. इन पर्सपेक्टिव्स को सबसे पहले तो देखेंगे कि ये किस चीज के लिए स्टैंड करते हैं, जो कि आप यू आर वेरी मच फेमिलियर विद इट. नंबर 2, वी आर गोइंग टू सी विच पर्सनैलिटी थ्योरी फिट्स इन वेयर. देयर कैन बी थ्योरीज ऑफ पर्सनैलिटी जो कि कई डोमेन्स और पर्सपेक्टिव्स में आ जाएंगी. देन वी आर गोइंग टू सी व्हाट एम्पिरिकल रिसर्च हैज बीन डन अंडर ईच पर्सपेक्टिव. ये देखेंगे कि ये पर्सपेक्टिव क्या है. नंबर 2, विच पर्सनैलिटी थ्योरी फिट्स अंडर विच हेडिंग ऑफ इंडिविजुअल पर्सपेक्टिव. एंड नंबर 3, व्हाट एम्पिरिकल रिसर्च हैज बीन कंडक्टेड in a particular perspective of psychology. So we'll today focus on 3 perspectives, and that is dispositional, biological, intrapsychic. So let's begin. Number 1, dispositional. It deals centrally with the ways in which individual differs from one another with respect to emotions, self-concepts, physiological characteristics in their intrapsychic mechanisms. The goal of the psychologist is to identify, measure the important ways in which individuals differ from one another, the origin of these differences and how these differences develop and how they are maintained. So the first perspective deals with how individuals differ from one another in their emotions, in their perceptions, in their traits, in their needs, in their motives. And the role and the responsibility of a psychologist is to identify in what ways do individuals differ from one another and how these differences they develop, how they originate, how they develop and how they can be measured. सबसे अहम चीज कि ये differences किस तरह originate करते हैं, develop होते हैं और इनको किस तरह measure किया जा सकता है. The term disposition refers to an inherent tendency to behave in a specific way or traits or stable internal characteristics. So traits are the raw material of personality structure. The term disposition, it refers to inherent internal characteristic or tendency. So it refers to traits, it refers to needs, it refers to motives, it refers to your internal tendency or characteristics. So you can say traits or needs or motives are the raw materials or the building blocks of your personality according to the dispositional perspective. This approach assumes that personality is made up of a set of stable internal characteristics that guide behavior, and these characteristics are described as personality types, but more often each person's unique combination of traits, factors और needs. तो जनाब आप कह सकते हैं कि traits, needs, motives और internal characteristics और inherent tendencies, they are the raw materials or the building blocks or the factors of which our personality is molded in a unique way by the environment. So traits भी हैं, factors भी हैं, motives भी हैं, needs भी हैं, लेकिन इन सब चीजों को एक यूनिक तरीके से मोल्ड करते डेवलप करता है आपका environment where an individual exists. The question that comes to our mind is, how many personality traits exist? What is the best classification system of traits? And how these traits can be measured? तो ये सवाल आपके ज़हन में आते हैं. Let's seek an answer to them. How many personality traits exist? A person's personality is viewed as being built out of a set of common as well as important traits. The psychologists use strategies to identify fundamental traits out of which differences between people can be formed. What is the best classification system of traits? Number 1, the language approach. Number 2, the statistical approach. And number 3, the theoretical approach. The psychologist blends the three together to classify and identify the fundamental traits. जनाब बात आपसे हो रही है कि how many personality traits exist within a person? Well, there's a set of common traits, there's a set of important traits, and that exists in all of us. Number 2, psychologists use the language approach, the statistical approach, and the theoretical approach to study different traits that exist. So it is through these three approaches which the psychologist blends together to identify and classify the fundamental traits, the basic traits that exist within you and me. Now, how are traits measured? Qualitatively as well as quantitatively. Work is being done to develop such measures which are standardized, objective, reliable, valid and not easily faked. Example is Cattle 16 PA. बात आपसे हो रही है जनाब के traits को किस तरह measure किया जाए. So you can measure traits qualitatively as well as quantitatively, and a lot of effort is being put in to measure them qualitatively, quantitatively through standardized, objective, reliable, valid procedures which are let's say not fakeable, procedures which cannot be cheated. और हमारे पास मिसाल उसमें है कैटल के 16 PF के, ऑल पॉट्स की स्टडी ऑफ वैल्यूज की, which are used in studying personality traits. Traits are used in selecting people for specific careers or for specific education. Will this aggressive person be suitable for a post of a police officer, or a kind-hearted lady will be suitable for a nursing job? जनाब हम ये देखते हैं कि traits are very useful in seeing that individuals who possess a particular set of traits, which career or profession should they choose. So it can be said that an aggressive, bold individual should go into the army or the air force or the police, or people who want to do a lot of service should become a doctor or a nurse. So traits are related in suggesting which careers you should choose and what sort of education you should pursue. जनाब आपके सामने एक बहुत डिटेल डिस्कशन हमारा रहा डिस्पोजिशनल पर्सपेक्टिव के हवाले से, which refers to differences between persons. It focuses on internal inherent characteristics. और हमने ये देखा कि ट्रेड्स क्या हैं, कैसे मेजर होती हैं और कितनी ट्रेड्स हैं, उनको कैसे क्लासिफाई किया जाता है. और फिर ये देखा कि ट्रेड्स आर रिलेटेड विद करियर एंड टाइप ऑफ एजुकेशन एन इंडिविजुअल शुड परस्यू. डिस्पोजिशनल पर्सपेक्टिव की बात आपसे करें, कौन सी पर्सनैलिटी थ्योरीज जो आपने कवर की हैं वो इसमें शामिल होंगी? बिल्कुल सही जनाब, इसमें शामिल होगी ऑलपॉट की ट्रेड थ्योरी, कैटल की ट्रेड थ्योरी, कैली की कॉग्निटिव कंस्ट्रक्ट थ्योरी, मरे की नीड थ्योरी. They will be included in this paradigm, in this approach, in this domain. So let's talk about these 4 personality theories just with reference to dispositions. Allport's trade is the unit of analysis for understanding and studying personality. Traits are predisposition to various kinds of stimuli. They may be classified under cardinal, central or secondary according to the degree of pervasiveness within a personality. The construct that unifies traits and provides direction for the person's life is termed the proprium. This concept refers to the self including all aspects of personality. जनाब बात आपसे हो रही है कि डिस्पोजिशनल पर्सपेक्टिव है, उसमें आपके पास ऑलपॉट की थ्योरी है, कैटल की थ्योरी है, कैली की थ्योरी है, मैस्लो की थ्योरी. Now when it comes to Allport, cardinal, central and secondary traits are very important, and the construct or concept of proprium is important. Proprium refers to the self, and self covers all important aspects of personality. So Allport के लिए जो बहुत अहम है वो है आप cardinal और central traits. जब हम कार्डिनल ट्रेड कहते हैं, द मोस्ट परवेसिव ट्रेड, यानी एक ट्रेड जिसकी बेसिस पे आप एक इंडिविजुअल को लेबल कर देते हैं कि सच एंड सच इंडिविजुअल इज एज माइजर एज अ स्क्रूज, सच एंड सच इंडिविजुअल is as kind-hearted as Hatam Tai. So on the basis of one trait you label a person. Central traits are pervasive but less pervasive than cardinal. जैसे आप कहते हैं such and such individual is hard working and committed. So जब हार्ड वर्क और कमिटमेंट की बात आएगी तो वो उसकी central trait है on the basis of which we are labeling him. Now Allport's trait theory has given us a study of value test, which is a tool which is used in measuring certain traits or values in an individual. Then we have got Cattell's trait theory. For Cattell, factor analysis is a method used to discover traits which he considers the building blocks of personality. An ability discovered in such a cluster is called a factor, and in Cattell's theory, the term factor is equated with the term trade. And trade is a mental structure that is observed to account for regularity or consistency in individuals' behavior. Cattle's traits include unique, common, surface, source, constitutional, environmental, ability and dynamic traits. बात आपसे हो रही है जनाब एक और बहुत important theory, and that is Cattle's trait theory. Now Cattle used the technique of factor analysis, a statistical technique of measuring traits, and he focused that traits are mental structures, they are methods or ways of responding to stimuli. और फिर उसने बहुत सारी हमें एक लिस्ट दी ट्रेड्स की, जिसमें यूनिक ट्रेड्स हैं, कॉमन ट्रेड्स हैं, सरफेस ट्रेड्स हैं, सोर्स ट्रेड्स हैं, टेम्परामेंटल ट्रेड्स हैं, एबिलिटी ट्रेड्स हैं. एंड बेस्ड ऑन कैटल्स ट्रेड्स वी हैव गॉट 16 PF, 16 personality factors. Cattle has also focused on fluid intelligence. Cattle has also focused on ability. So basically this is another very important trait theory, and the focus is on measurement of the trait. उसके बाद जनाब हमने आपसे बात की मरे की नीड थ्योरी की. It was Henry Murray who worked on the concept of need. A need is a construct, a fiction or a hypothetical concept which stands for a force in the brain region, a force which organizes perception, apperception, interjection, connection, action in such a way as to transform in a certain direction an existing unifying situation. Primary needs, secondary needs, overt needs, covert needs, focal needs and diffuse needs, proactive needs and reactive needs, process activity, modal needs and effect needs. Janab, it was Henry Murray's need theory where we come across need as a force which guides your perception, which guides your thinking, which controls you. Now he is talking about a number of needs: primary needs, secondary needs, proactive needs, reactive needs, focal needs. So he is talking about a number of needs. Janab, based on this need theory, Murray developed the TAT test, thematic apperception test. In this test, which is a projective test, a person is given a picture card, and after seeing the picture card for an allotted period of time, he is asked to write a story related with who the characters are, what they are doing, and what is going to be the outcome of the story. The basic philosophy is that when you write a story, you are going to identify with the character in the picture card, usually with the main hero or with the main character of the picture card, and you are going to project all your needs, all your traits on that individual, and you are going to write a story according to your needs and demands. So the thing is, the individual is to write a story. The story should have a beginning, a middle part and an end, and it fully takes into account, it fully reflects certain needs of an individual. Janab, this is as far as our dispositional perspective is concerned, जिसमें हमने आपके साथ ऑलपॉट की थ्योरी, कैटल की थ्योरी, मरे की थ्योरी की, और हमने ये देखा कि they are focusing on traits, how traits are classified, how they emerge, how they develop, and how they mold your personality. So in dispositional perspective, traits or internal characteristics are important, intrapsychic mechanisms are important. जब हम intrapsychic mechanisms की बात करते हैं ना, तो इसमें फ्रॉइड भी आ जाते हैं, यूंग भी आ जाते हैं, and others as well as Karen Horney and Erik Erikson. But I would like to cover them in intrapsychic approach or domain as well. Now the second important perspective, the biological perspective. Humans are collections of biological systems, and these systems provide the building blocks for behavior, for thinking, and for emotions. The biological approach refers to three areas: genetics, physiology or function, and evolution. दूसरा अहम पर्सपेक्टिव आपके सामने, जहां पर हम बायोलॉजिकल बेसिस देखते हैं किसी भी इंडिविजुअल के बिहेवियर की, उसकी थिंकिंग की, उसकी इमोशन की. How one individual differs from another individual biologically with reference to behavior, with reference to thinking, with reference to emotions. और जब बायोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव की बात होती है तो इट refers to three important areas: genetics, physiology or function, and evolution. Number one, genetics. It is concerned with genetics of personality. Some important research questions are identical twins more alike or fraternal twins in their personalities? What happens when identical twins are reared together versus when they are reared apart? It is behavior genetics which asks such important questions. The psychophysiology of personality summarizes what is known about personality in terms of nervous system functioning, neurotransmitters, cardiac reactivity, pain tolerance, circadian rhythms, whether you are a morning or a night person, and link between hormones and personality. बात आपसे हो रही है जनाब बायोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव की. And dear students, we are taking into account the three important areas of biological perspective: genetics, physiology and evolution. जैसे हमने सबसे पहले कहा genetics. Now genetics is very important area of personality development. And genetics takes into account the role of genes in molding your behavior. How genes influence your personality, your behavior. और इसको स्टडी करने के लिए हम ये देखते हैं कि क्या आइडेंटिकल ट्विन्स का बिहेवियर एक जैसा है या फ्रेटर्नल ट्विन्स का बिहेवियर एक जैसा है. जब आइडेंटिकल ट्विन्स को एक साथ रेयर किया जाए, इज देयर पर्सनैलिटी द सेम? और व्हेन दे आर रेयर्ड अपार्ट, one in one family and the other one in another family, do they have similar personalities or not? So genetics deal करती है कि how genes influence your behavior, what is the impact of genes over your behavior. दूसरी तरफ हमारे पास है psychophysiology or the functioning. We are very much interested in how nervous system, how brain, neurotransmitter, your specific sleep patterns, whether you are sleeping at night or whether you are working at night and sleeping during the daytime, your cardiac activity, your circadian rhythms, all of these things, how are they related to your behavior? We are interested in how nervous system and functioning of nervous system has an impact over your behavior, over your personality. Similarly, we also like to explore the hormones and their impact on behavior or personality. Number 3, how evolution has shaped human psychological functioning. This approach assumes that psychological mechanisms that constitute human personality has evolved over thousands of years because they were effective in solving adaptive problems, such as all social motives. The research study related to biological approach collected data from the following areas. Number 1, selective breeding, only conducted in animals, family studies, twin studies and adoption studies. Freud's theory, Sheldon's theory and Erik Erikson's theory is included over here. We are talking to you about the biological perspective और हमने कहा कि आपकी genes और physiology and evolution contribute equally in the development of personality. फिर हमने ये देखा कि biological perspective के लिए जब हमें research data या empirical data जो मिला है वो selective breeding से मिला है, family studies से मिला है, twin studies से मिला है, adoption studies से मिला है. Mind you that selective breeding and all experiments of selective breeding have been conducted on animals, not on human beings. It is only family studies, twin studies and adoption studies जिनका डाटा हमें human participants और subjects से मिले. Then we have got and we have three theories in this perspective: Freud's theory, Sheldon's theory, Erik Erikson's theory. Freud's theory is biological in nature. Emphasis is on sexual aggressive instincts. So stages of development are 5, beginning from birth up till adolescence. Freud's account of psychosexual development is based on the premise that sexuality begins at birth and progresses thereafter through a biologically defined zones until adulthood is reached. Freud conceived of personality development as proceeding through the following stages: oral, anal, phallic and genital stage. तो जनाब पहली हमारे पास important theory and that is Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical theory. It's a biological theory. The focus is first on sexual and aggressive instincts. Number 2, the focus is on psychosexual stages of development. Each psychosexual stage of development is important. It is biologically determined. And there are physical, psychological needs which emerge at every stage. They have to be fulfilled. Otherwise, an individual would face a pathology or a fixation which may not appear at a younger age but which may appear at a later age. For example, if there is an oral fixation or if oral needs are not fulfilled, you come across an individual who is a nail biter, और यू कम अक्रॉस एन इंडिविजुअल जो उसके हाथ में पेन, पेंसिल, कागज या जो चीज भी होगी, he'll begin to chew it. So that is typically your behavior which shows needs which were not fulfilled at that particular stage and that has led to a problem at adult stage. दूसरी तरफ हमारे पास है Sheldon somatotype theory. Sheldon looks at the physique or body type, soma, for explanation of human behavior. Number 1, a discrete number of physical and number 2, temperamental variables that he considers of primary importance in representing human behavior. Please go back to Sheldon's somatotype theory where he is trying to relate a specific body type with a specific temperament or behavior. He is talking about ectomorphs, mesomorphs, endomorphs, and each body type related to a specific temperament, related to a specific mood. So again, it's focusing, or again, it comes under the biological perspective. According to Erikson, biology or genetics is one strong determinant of personality, but culture is another important determinant. Number 2, the biologically determined differences between the two sexes can be explained as a result of social expectations or cultural expectations. जनाब हमारे पास है एरिक एरिक्सन की psychosocial theory of personality, where the focus is on a set of crises that emerges at every developmental stage as an individual progresses through it. So basically, Erik Erikson is focusing on two variables. Number 1, biology or genes, which contribute to your development of personality. वो genes, वो genetic message, वो biology जो आप inherit कर रहे हैं, according to Erikson is important. But he is also emphasizing number 2 on culture or society, which is important. So your personality develops as a result of genes as well as cultural impact. Number 2, the differences in the two genders. There are biological differences between the two genders, but these biological differences between the two genders can be explained with reference to cultural explanation, with reference to cultural impact as well. So for Erik Erikson again, biology or genes are important. जनाब इस दूसरे पर्सपेक्टिव में आपके साथ बहुत डिटेल में डिस्कस की सिगमंड फ्रॉइड की थ्योरी विच इज बायोलॉजिकल, डिस्कस की आपसे शेल्डन की सोमैटोटाइप थ्योरी और तीसरे डिस्कस की एरिक एरिक्सन की थ्योरी जो कि साइकोसोशल है, बट द एम्फेसिस इज ऑन जीन्स और बायोलॉजी. ही इज नॉट इग्नोरिंग द रोल ऑफ जीन्स और बायोलॉजी. Opposition. Karen Horney de-emphasized the biological motives and focused on a need for a feeling of security in the child is important. Karen Horney totally rejected the concept that anatomy is destiny and males are superior, males are equal to females. So there's another important theory of personality जो आपने cover की, वो Karen Horney की है. She totally rejected the biological perspective of personality development. उसके लिए anatomy is not destiny. She is not of the opinion that males are superior to females. She thinks males and females are equal. And number two, she is of the opinion that it is basically a feeling of security in the child which is more important. And this feeling of security is important and it is provided by a good parent-child, healthy parent-child relationship. So Karen Horney has rejected the importance of the biological perspective. She does not believe that biology or genes are the determining factor, और उसके लिए ये बात अहम नहीं है, और वो इस बात को कतई अहमियत नहीं देती that males are superior to females. She thinks males and females are equal. Number 3, the intrapsychic approach was founded by Freud, who assumes that human personality is formed out of conflicts between basic needs and demands of the society. Most of these conflicts are at the unconscious level and they affect our everyday behavior. There are other psychodynamic theorists who differed from Freud, such as Jung, Adler, Karen Horney. Those 3 levels of consciousness: the conscious, the preconscious and the unconscious, to describe the degree to which mental events vary in accessibility to awareness. The most significant mental events takes place in the unconscious. तीसरा अहम perspective or approach, the intrapsychic perspective, which was founded by Freud, and it's basically focusing on intrapsychic mechanisms, intrapsychic conflicts that are at the unconscious level. And this intrapsychic conflict, it affects our everyday behavior. Now, according to Freud, there are 3 levels of your consciousness: the conscious level, the preconscious level and the unconscious level. और Freud के लिए the unconscious level is the most important level. In Freudian theory, human psychological makeup comprises 3 structural components: id, ego and superego. It represents the instinctual core of the person. It is irrational, impulsive and obedient to the pleasure principle. The ego represents the rational component of the personality. It is governed by the reality principle. Its task is to provide the individual with a suitable plan of action in order to satisfy the demands of the id within the restrictions of the social world. The superego, the final structure developed, represents the moral branch of the personality. जनाब, दूसरा अहम mental structure that refers to id, ego and superego. It is the irrational, illogical, childish, aggressive, sexual component of your personality based on the pleasure principle. Whatever is pleasurable, whatever pleases you, you want to get hold of that. And when you want to get hold of that, you want to seek pleasure. So it's based on the hedonistic principle. The ego is the rational, logical, wise person within you. The superego is the moral arm of your personality. And the role of the ego is difficult. It works according to the reality principle and it tries to mediate conflict between id and superego. Then Freud has also given a theory related to instincts. He is talking about eros and thanatos, the life instinct and the death instinct. Freud also recognized 3 types of anxiety: reality anxiety, neurotic anxiety and moral anxiety. he proposed that anxiety serves as a warning signal to the ego of impending danger from instinctual impulses. In response, the ego employs a number of defense mechanisms, including sublimation, projection, displacement, rationalization, reaction formation and regression. जनाब हमारे पास एक और अहम phenomena and that relates to anxiety. Whenever the id impulses are so overwhelming that the ego thinks that it will not be able to cope with it, it takes help from defense mechanisms. और वो defense mechanisms rationalization, denial, sublimation, reaction formation and projection and many more which we have covered. So it's the instincts, it's the level of consciousness, it's the mental structures which are the very basis of your personality according to the intra-psychic model, according to the model given to us by Sigmund Freud. Now Jung is also talking about some intra-psychic mechanism. He is talking about personal unconscious and collective unconscious. The personal unconscious consists of repressed or forgotten or not very vivid or clear memory. It consists of clusters of emotionally loaded thoughts labeled as complexes. The collective unconscious, it refers to our ancestral experiences, memories, or all human history that we inherit from our forefathers. Jung labeled these ancestral experiences as archetypes. Fragments of all human history that we inherit from our forefathers, Jung labeled them as archetypes which are persona, anima, animus, shadow and self. जनाब Jung की personal unconscious and collective unconscious. Personal unconscious refers to memories which are no more that clear, but they refer to emotionally loaded set of feelings, or they are related with the construct of complex. Collective unconscious related with the concept of your ancestral memories that you inherit from your forefathers. So that relates with archetypes, anima, animus, persona, self, shadow. So all these archetypes fall under the collective unconscious. So Jung, though he differed from Freud, but these two constructs or his theoretical model comes under the intra-psychic perspective. Karen Horney is also talking about intra-psychic perspective. Number 1, basic anxiety created when a child is born into bigger and more powerful world of individuals. Neurotic personality, maladaptive ways of dealing with relationships, parent-child relationship based on hostility or regression. For Karen Horney, child's relationship to his parents is very important, and that determines whether or not the child would develop the basic anxiety. For Karen Horney, basic anxiety leads to the development of neurosis and causes basic hostility which is unconscious. Dear students, we have covered with you 3 perspectives in detail. जनाब 3 perspectives पे बहुत तवील बहस आपसे रही, गुफ्तगू रही. Number 1, dispositional perspective. Number 2, biological perspective. Number 3, intrapsychic perspective. इन perspectives को मजीद डिटेल में देखा. हर perspective से related वो सारी theories जो आपने cover की हैं उनको देखा. Empirical research जो हर perspective के नीचे हुई है उसको देखा. और असल में in reality all these perspectives are different ways or different approaches of viewing personality. और हर approach जो है उसमें there are a number of personality theories which relate to every perspective. Number 2, huge amount of empirical research has been done in each and every approach and perspective. So dear students, we have covered with you 3 important perspectives today. The rest of the 3 will be covered in the coming lecture. I hope you have enjoyed listening to this lecture as much as I have enjoyed talking to all of you. Please go through the PowerPoint slides and the Word document that is available on the web page of your course Personality Psychology. Do write to us if you have a question. Take very good care of yourself. Hope to see you in the next lecture. Up till our next lecture, it is Khuda Hafiz from Virtual University Studio.